This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and today we're going to be building all different types of our kingdom. We're going to be building water and forest and prairies and mountains and you name it. We're going back to Kingdomino, but today we're going to be taking a look at a game that will be coming out sometime in the future. There's no set date yet, but I had a chance to play this at Gen Con with designer Bruno Cathala, and it is called Kingdomino Dice, or the Dice game. It's a two-player game. I played one full game of it. And now I'm just gonna basically give you a very high level overview. I'm just gonna be looking at my score sheet and telling you how it's different from the normal Kingdomino, and then I'll just give you my first impressions on the other side. So forgive me in how crazy and ugly my score sheet looked. I didn't even know that I was going to be able to show this to you. I thought it was off limits to talk about this, but afterwards I was told that I could talk about it. So I apologize for how messy this looks. What you're looking at is a 7x7 kingdom, and each player gets one of these score sheets, and you can see it has the castle in the middle. Now the game comes with 4 dice. Each round a player will roll all 4 dice, and they'll pick 1 die, then the other player will pick 2 dice, and then that first player will then take the die that's left over for them. On the bottom left of the score sheet, you'll see these are the different types of kingdoms that there are on the dice going from top to bottom. You see the little prairie weed there, you see the forest, the ocean, castle, mountains, things like that. Those are the different kingdoms. Think of them as the kingdoms in Kingdomino. Some of them will have stars, and if you look through my 7x7 grid, you'll see in the upper corners, you'll see sometimes I place stars. Those are equivalent to the crowns in Kingdomino. However, each die will either have a star, which is going to help you score points, or it's going to not have a star. If it doesn't have a star, you'll get to take off a certain amount of those, depending on how many of those dice you took with that type of kingdom on it. So on the bottom left there, you'll see different boxes. And as it goes from top to bottom, those types of kingdoms are more available and less available. So at the bottom, the mountains and the castles are the least frequent. And at the top, those ones are more frequent. So as you take a die that does not have a star of one of those, you get to cross off one of those boxes. And if you get to fill all those boxes of that type before the other player, well, that unlocks a special ability that you can use on your turn. And essentially you can use it once per game and then you cross it off. But the other player cannot get it once you have. So it's basically like 5 or 6 different races going on at once, going up different tracks to unlock different abilities to use them, but in the end it all comes down to points. Some of these abilities do different things. On the water there, you get to take 2 dice as your first person instead of taking just 1. The one just below that, you can actually flip a die to anything you want there. So there's all different ways, the strategies that you can use as to which abilities you want to try to go for. Now the game's played over a certain amount of rounds, just like before, and also if you cannot place a specific die, you just don't use it. You'll see I have in the upper left and then just to the right of the castle, I have some empty spots. It's because I didn't plan that great. And at the end, you're going to score it just like Kingdomino by looking at all the areas, looking at your number of stars times the amount of pieces in that area that are that type of kingdom. And then you add up your points and whoever has the most is the winner. All right, so a few things again. This is there's no timetable for this yet. It's not even sort of up on Board Game Geek or anything like that. It's just it's sort of an early look I got with Bruno there. Now, first of all, let me just tell you how I felt after the first time playing this. So this is a 2-player game. It's designed by Bruno Cathala and Ludovic Malblanc. They are the dynamic duo that, in my opinion, make my favorite 2-player games. They've done the whole entire Mr. Jack series, many other games together actually, so I like that it's both of them. Now, speaking of Mr. Jack, the dice drafting here, since there's 4 dice and the first player is grabbing 1 die and then the other player is grabbing 2 and then the last player is grabbing 1, it's the same exact choice styles that you have in the 2-player games Mr. Jack. All 4 of the Mr. Jack series, Mr. Jack Pocket, Mr. Jack in New York, and the Phantom of the Opera. They all work that way, and it just works so good for 2-player sort of drafting. And it works well here, where you look at what you want. Ooh, do you really want to get that 1 die that you really need, but you're going to give 2 of the ones that's going to help them out? Or do you take the one that's really going to stop them? You're constantly looking at what they have, what you have. Okay, this is going to be worth X amount of points to me now, but it's going to be worth, this die over here is going to be worth even more to them right now. So do I just take that one and sort of stop them? So a lot of this back and forth tug of war style going on, the decisions of the dicing that we played in this one. Are you going for the stars? Or are you trying to work your way up those ability tracks that allow you to do all sorts of cool things? different things to think about there. I love that when you take a die, you're either getting sort of a star or you're getting up to those different tracks, and watching which tracks you're doing well on versus which tracks they're doing well on. And you know, if they're just bound to get that one, you know what, I'll just leave that one to them. I'll fight them on something else, things like that. That's the type of thinking that you do that made the game fun for me. It feels like Kingdomino with teeth, in my opinion, because it's very much interactive. Now, you're interacting with the other players by what you pick in Kingdomino, but this one, since it's only 2 players, and since you're both working on tracks and trying to stop each other from getting points, this one is much more, I'd say, confrontational than the original Kingdomino, which makes me like it very much. I love 2-player games. This gives that feel of Kingdomino, but different because you're using dice, you're drafting it differently like Mr. Jack, and working your way up the tracks to get those different abilities. So overall, this, I mean, I'm sure things might change between now and when it comes out, but my first impression is I really like this because of all those reasons I mentioned. And I'm not, again, sure when it's coming out, but keep your eyes out. I'm sure it will be announced in possible, I'm gonna guess 2019 sometime, but I don't really know. This has been a Game Boy Geek, helping you find and enjoy the next board game you'll love.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com.